All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:30 on a Monday, looking out at the marina there with still some fleeting ice. A gorgeous day. The camera is moving a little bit, not an earthquake. It's a little breezy out there, but oh man, love to start a week off like this. Wish we could guarantee that it would continue, but I think not.
Yeah, no, today is gorgeous. It is one of those days that makes you think like, oh, spring is here. This is so exciting. It is 60s, it's sunny, it's beautiful. It is the best day of the week, just telling you that point blank.
We call it fake spring, we call it false spring, we call it, winter returns, because that's a part of the plan. But no, Marches can have us. I mean, think about it, the weekend was 72. It was beautiful on Saturday. We had some storms in the morning. You were tracking a potential tornado in southwestern Pottern County. Elsewhere, we had in and out of rain. Yesterday turned out to be beautiful, and today, kind of the same. But the question is, will Lucy pull the football away from Charlie Brown? Do you know that reference?
I do.
Okay, you do. Okay.
We would always watch the Charlie Brown specials.
All right. Oh my gosh, me too. But meaning, are we running into kick a field goal into spring? I don't think so.
No, not yet. Winter really likes to hold on a little bit longer, especially in March.
Yeah. In fact, it's not uncommon to see big swings, and that's what it looks like we're going to see this week. Oh, look at that. You can see a little bit of the current here, and then of course the ice here at out in the marina there. We're going to see swings towards the colder by the end of the week, which is very, very typical for this time of the year. So sunny today, mid to upper 60s. Love it. Just lavish it up, okay? Tomorrow, not awful, but there will be more cloud cover, and it will be a little cooler because of that. And there may be a few spotty showers around, especially in the afternoon. Wednesday, a different story, a soaker coming. It looks like periods of rain on Wednesday, and there could be some potential thunder as well. So we'll get into that in a second. But again, kind of active over the next 48 hours or 72 hours, and then even more of that beyond. So today's 63, tomorrow, after a breezy day today, tomorrow it looks like we'll see highs in the upper 50s, and then we should manage the low to mid 60s for Wednesday. So putting this all together, okay, we've got dry weather today. One system moves through tomorrow. It's a warm front that's going to move through, cloud us up a bit, bring a few scattered showers. Next system arrives Wednesday, has a lot more moisture with it. It's going to bring in that rain, and given that it's a cold front associated with it, colder air on the other side. Rain on Wednesday, sharply colder on Thursday. We're talking 30 degrees colder for a daytime high Thursday versus Wednesday. And then another system for Friday that will spread another swath of possible snow in the morning, and then kind of a rain and snow mix in the afternoon on Friday. And then another system for Sunday, and that one is kind of out there. We know what's coming. The timing of it, though, is kind of critical to what actually plays out for Sunday's forecast, because we got a big parade resembling this color green on Sunday. We'd love to get that dry weather in there. We'll see. We're going to have rain close by. We'll see. Right now, temperatures are, we're at 61 right now in Buffalo, 55 in Olean. Winds right now gusting to close to 40 miles an hour downwind of Lake Erie. So, near 40 in both Buffalo and the Falls, 28 in Dunkirk. So it will be a breezy, if not, call it windy. I think 40 plus is windy, 40 less is breezy. It's kind of how I think about it. Again, maybe a few high clouds moving through, but it looks like it's going to be gorgeous with the sunshine. Again, a bit of a breeze. Clear skies tonight as temperatures top out in the mid to upper 60s. It'll be a little cooler near the lakeshore because the lake is still frozen. So any breeze off the lake refrigerates, if you will, the lakeshore. So downtown, Athol Springs, lakeshore, Dunkirk, you're probably going to be a little bit cooler today. All right, in the big view, though, we're waiting for the next system to arrive. Right now, there's two pieces of energy that are going to come together. One is up here in Montana, where we've got some snow showers going on there near Cut Bank. And then here, this swirl of low pressure near Ensenada, Mexico. Have you been there? It's beautiful. Baja. I drove all the way from, get this, Los Angeles to Cabo San Lucas many, many years ago in my college days. That was quite a trip. Anyway, this is such beautiful real estate, and the area of low pressure spinning near it will head our way as it merges with the one to the north, and that will set the stage for that soaker of a system coming in for Wednesday. All right, enough of my vacation travels. Here we go for today. Mostly sunny, if not sunny skies. Clear skies tonight, then we thicken up the clouds. Tomorrow morning, maybe, a little sprinkle, but then some showers are a little more likely in the afternoon, okay? Doesn't look terribly heavy, but again, heads up for that. Nothing really widespread. And then as we head into Wednesday, that's when we see some showers and maybe a little thunder rolling through as early as the morning, and then periods of rain, it looks like, on Wednesday, okay? There's the second round and maybe a third round. And with this could come some embedded thunder showers, okay? Like what happened on Saturday, we did have some thunderstorms with a pretty strong front. However, it was the southern tier and into northern PA that was favored for any kind of severe weather. The cooler Lake Erie, as expected, kind of zapped some of the energy out of the atmosphere on Saturday. The same could happen on Wednesday. Having said that, we're still going to go with a chance of thunder, but the best chance of severe weather will be to the south. Now, I mentioned it's going to get colder Thursday, 30 degrees colder. Yes, that means there could be some snow showers on Thursday. So we go from the 60s to snow showers off Lake Erie. I think the southern tier will be favored, maybe the Boston Hills, but I think it should stay dry, Buffalo to the Falls. This is for Thursday. Minor snows possible again Thursday. All right, in terms of rainfall, this is what we're thinking. Yeah, I think it's gotten a little nuts up here in the Falls. That's too high, but I think upper, I would say 3/4 of an inch to maybe an inch of rain out of Wednesday's system into Thursday. Okay, so that's something we're watching. And here we have that threat of severe weather. Last Saturday, we were under a slight risk. Right now, the Storms Prediction Center has us on the first level of alertness. We're in a marginal risk, which is, heads up. There could be one or two severe thunderstorms, but notice the darker green is for the southern half of Erie County and into the southern tier. And notice there's less of a threat farther to the north because that lake breeze will kind of keep things a little on the quieter side. All right, for today, mid to upper 60s for highs today, sunshine with a wind up to 25, 35, gusting to near 50 miles an hour. Then for tomorrow, a range in temperatures, 50s to the north, 60s to the south. There will be just enough of a breeze off Lake Ontario to cool things off near the lakeshore there. But elsewhere, again, around 60, and there will be a shower in the afternoon. Here comes that plunge of colder air after Wednesday's system, and it looks like it'll set the stage for cold weather on Thursday. Moderates a bit on Friday and Saturday. There could be some more cold weather early next week. And as you can see in the 6 to 10 day projection, we're now in a below normal weather pattern temperature-wise. Chances of it pretty good into next week, and even the 8 to 14 day. So this is looking at next week and then beyond St. Patrick's Day and into the following week, we could see temperatures below average. All right, and that means opportunities too of maybe a little snow here or there for the second half of March. I know it can happen. By the way, in speaking of spring, we've never had an April without snow. How about that? So there we go. All right, sunny and mild and breezy to windy today, clear skies tonight. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies and a few showers around, especially in the afternoon. Long range forecast looks like this. Notice Wednesday, there's the rain. Notice the temperature disparity tomorrow, 50s to the north, 60s to the south. Then as we head towards Thursday, snow showers for the hills of the southern tier primarily. Friday, a rain and snow mix, we're in the 40s. Saturday, dry and 30s. The old neighborhood parade looks good. Sunday, the next system arrives. If we were to call it, right now it looks like Saturday night into Sunday, there could be a little snow or a rain-snow mix. Then it dries out during the day, which would be good news for the parade. It'll be breezy. And then more rain and snow Sunday night, okay? So that's day 7. Don't want to get too cute in timing it hour by hour, but that's kind of what we're looking at for the downtown parade, which can have such a variety around here. We're all used to it. So throw anything at us and it won't surprise us.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough. You know, the St. Patrick's Day parade, from what I understand, is a pretty big deal, but because it's St. Patrick's Day, it has to be in March, and March is just such a coin toss of a month, depending on just what day it falls on. You can get those 70s and sunny and really nice, or you can have a day like today, absolutely gorgeous, or, you know, you can have what we might be getting this weekend. Don't want to speak too soon, but
yes, the parade is a big deal at City Hall. It's a really big deal on Chippewa, and then as Delaware goes north towards North Street in Tupper, it's still a big deal. But the biggest deal is at Chippewa, and if you see, you'll know.
I think the parade's going when I'm going into work on Sunday,
you'll get it.
I'm sure I'll see it.
All right, what's your favorite layer of the atmosphere? Sorry. Lauren's gonna let you know hers coming up. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Did you know that the atmosphere is made up in layers, like layers of a cake, horizontal layers? As you go up in the atmosphere, Lauren's going to break those down and tell us her favorite.
Of course, yeah. No, so this time of year, well, today specifically, it's a pretty quiet weather day, so I thought it might be nice to take a look at the atmosphere and what we kind of have to thank for the type of weather that we have. So there are 4 main levels of the atmosphere. I'll say generally, you can go even further up, but really we have the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, and the thermosphere. But really that big layer, big in terms of what we talk about in terms of meteorology, is the troposphere. That is pretty much where all weather takes place, but it is also far and away the thinnest layer of the atmosphere. If the Earth were an apple, the troposphere is about as thick as the skin of it. So relatively speaking, it's very small, but it's very important. So let's kind of take a look at how these areas of the atmosphere break down. So we have the troposphere. Generally speaking, let's say it's about 11 kilometers high into the atmosphere. It can vary on different areas of the globe. It is higher around the equator and at its lowest at the poles. but let's just generally say 11 kilometers. Then you have the stratosphere. That goes from about that 11 kilometer mark to about 50 kilometers up into the atmosphere. The mesosphere around 50 to, it can vary between 80 and 90, so I just kind of put it at a nice 85. And then the thermosphere begins right after the mesosphere, and it actually goes much higher than this, but that's not really what I'm going to spend most of my time talking about, so I didn't bother wasting so much space on the thermosphere. Now, if you'll notice, I have a bunch of axes going here. This one is the altitude. This is in kilometers because that's how we typically think of things using the metric system, and I didn't want to convert everything to miles, but if you want for the troposphere, it's about 6.8 miles if we're going for those 11 kilometers. That's the only one I'm converting to miles. Then up here we have atmospheric pressure. I'll show you how pressure drastically changes as we head up through the atmosphere. And here we have temperature also in Celsius. So let's kind of take a look at how that temperature changes as we head through the atmosphere. So the troposphere, this is where we all live. This is where all of that weather takes place. And as you would expect, when you increase the altitude, increasing in height, generally we see those temperatures going down. So it gets colder. Now you notice this area right here where it looks like as you increase in altitude, that temperature is pretty steady. That's kind of the tropopause. So between each layer of the atmosphere, you have that area. The top of the troposphere is the tropopause, stratosphere, the stratopause, mesosphere, mesopause, and so on and so forth. And those are kind of those transition zones where you're moving on to that new stage of the atmosphere. And as you transition, there's not a ton of temperature change with altitude, but they're also not that thick. As you head into the stratosphere, you actually notice that the temperatures go up with height. And this is a very big feature of the stratosphere. It's very important. It's how we get a lot of interesting qualities that I'll get into a little bit. But yeah, the top of the stratosphere is significantly warmer than the top of the troposphere. It even starts to approach 0 degrees Celsius as you get toward the top. And then of course the mesosphere is really when temperatures start to go down with height. But then when you get to the thermosphere, they go back up again. I do want to add a little caveat when we're talking about the thermosphere, because that pressure, the blue line is going to be the atmospheric pressure, goes way, way down. It's because the air particles or the molecules are so far spread apart once you get to the thermosphere, where pressure is pretty much non-existent. Obviously there is pressure, but not a ton. So yes, the temperature is listed as being higher, but really that's just like the individual energy within the particles. If we were to go into the thermosphere, we would be very cold. It is not warm there. Let's stick to the troposphere. That's where things are. But I do want to talk about the stratosphere just a little bit. Probably the key aspect of the stratosphere that's very, very important is that this is where the ozone layer is. So the ozone, or O3, which is basically 3 oxygen atoms in one molecule, that is what absorbs some of that UV and what keeps us safe from the sun. So you have UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVC is the most dangerous, and that is what the stratosphere helps to absorb so it does not reach us where we are living in the troposphere. It absorbs some UVB, and UVA generally does get through, but that's why we wear sunscreen. Always wear your sunscreen. Very important. And because of that inversion in the stratosphere, because it gets warmer with height, it's very, very stable. So you don't get a lot of changes in it compared to the troposphere, where obviously with height, things get colder. That's where all that instability is. That's why we have that weather. Air is mixing. It doesn't really mix in the stratosphere, but because the stratosphere is so stable, it kind of acts like a lid, keeping all of our weather, all of the variations that we do see in the troposphere. So let's talk a little bit more of what that is made up of. Its composition. Nitrogen and oxygen are pretty much 99% of our atmosphere in the troposphere. About 78% of it is nitrogen, and about 21% is oxygen. Now, fun trivia question for you whenever you're at parties. What is the most abundant greenhouse gas in our atmosphere? If you said carbon dioxide, you are wrong. It is actually water vapor. But the reason why we don't necessarily always count water vapor is because it can vary so much. It can be anywhere from nearly 0% of the atmosphere to up to 4% in very humid climates. But that is technically the most abundant greenhouse gas. But again, the vast majority of the troposphere is nitrogen and oxygen. Now, obviously, the troposphere is where we get clouds. So let's talk about the types of clouds that we have at the 3 different levels. You have about low clouds, which are within 6,500 feet, mid-level clouds, which are from 6,500 to 20,000 feet, and then you have the high clouds, which are 20,000 to about 45,000 feet. They all pretty much stay within the troposphere. Oh man, I feel like the coloring is really tough on these. There's not enough contrast. So the low clouds, you have cumulus, you have stratocumulus, and you have stratus. Cumulus is really, when you think of a cloud, that is what clouds are. And then in the middle, that's where you kind of get those alto variations of the clouds. Alto kind of just stands for high, those higher versions of the clouds. And then the higher clouds are the cirrus clouds. Those are primarily ice crystals. And those tend to be my favorite clouds. They're always so wispy and pretty. You kind of don't have as much of a defined shape as you do with those lower clouds, because those tend to be more rain droplets and you have those harder edges with them. And of course, the precipitation.
My favorite.
Oh, is it the cumulonimbus?
Cumulonimbus.
Yeah, that is the one that really stands out. It kind of spans the entirety of the troposphere because, as I talked about on Wednesday when I was talking about severe weather, kind of the feature of that is because air becomes unstable and it just keeps rising, and that's how you get those really, really tall clouds. And that kind of anvil shape that you have at the top, that's basically the stratosphere cutting it off, because otherwise things would just keep rising, but that's when you start to get that inversion. It cuts us off, and that's where you get those really big clouds, though.
Yeah. Well, my favorite layer of the atmosphere on most days, at least on days that I travel, is the stratosphere. Do you know why?
Because that's where a lot of commercial airplanes fly, because it is a lot more stable than the troposphere.
Perfect, exactly. Whenever you are flying in an airplane and they say, okay, there's turbulence, but once we get to a certain altitude, we'll turn off the seatbelt sign, right? That's when the plane goes above the stratosphere, and the bumpy, all of a sudden, smooth, and you're in the stratosphere and there's no more turbulence.
Yeah, I do kind of like the stratosphere too. I think it's very interesting, and it kind of helps keep everything calm, because the troposphere, while it is probably the most fascinating, especially to a meteorologist when you're talking about weather, it can also be very chaotic, very frustrating. A lot of not so great things happen in the troposphere.
Oh, well, that's where everything, anything that impacts us is there. Stratosphere is just kind of cool, quiet, but I knew we had something in common. We're fans of the stratosphere. I mean, who would have thunk it? And the other one I think is cool is, like you said, the thermosphere. That's the one where it just gets warmer and warmer the higher you go up.
Warmer,
relative,
asterisk.
right? Not get out the sunscreen, but more. It's like an inversion.
That is also where the aurora is. So I do kind of have a soft spot for the thermosphere because of that.
Have you ever seen the Northern Lights?
No, I've seen photos and that's it.
We had a couple. It was 2 years ago in May. We had, was it last year or May? I think it was 2 years ago or 1 year ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Anyway, we had quite the show here. It was pretty cool.
All right, well, we will be back with a look at some of your upcoming weather and the national forecast after this.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We mentioned taking a quick look at the rest of the nation. Today is like the one really quiet day coast to coast, except across the south where there may be a little bit of thunderstorm activity. But this is really cool. See that swirl here? I get back in the light. Look at how it picks up that moisture south of Cabo. See that? And it brings it up through Mexico into Texas. That's some of the moisture that's coming here by Wednesday. So you can actually see some of that moisture getting pulled up from the south. And that will bring some thunderstorms today across the south, but then more widespread severe weather is expected tomorrow, especially up towards Illinois and Indiana and western Ohio. So that's going to be a place to watch for some severe weather. Okay, a quick peek to the weekend.